Brigadier General. Protect our side, Zhou WeidongLi Yunlong. Captain, this kid doesn't need to be protected. He's Gou ShengSakata Nobutaka. Don't come over. Yamamoto Ichiki. Wusang, duck, sell, dish. Boss. How was this battle fought? Li Yunlong. Huh, you're still the god of wealth of our old Li, Captain. God of wealth. Where is it? Now it's mine. Wu Weidong. I didn't want to be the god of wealth either. Chapter 1, come on, you go here and fight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's going on? What's the noise about? Li Yunlong quickly walked a few steps to the conscription office. Captain. The soldier responsible for recruiting soldiers stood at attention and saluted. What's going on? Li Yunlong asked. Report to the commander, I want to join the army, but he doesn't agree. Wu Weidong didn't wait for the soldier to speak and immediately took the lead. Captain, it's not that he's not allowed, it's that he doesn't meet the requirements. He's a college student, an intellectual, and according to regulations, he should be sent to the brigade to study. The soldier said with a bitter face. All right, keep busy with you. Let me talk to this young man. Li Yunlong waved his hand at the soldier and said. Are you a college student? Li Yunlong looked at Wu Weidong in a long shirt and asked. I dropped out of Liangjian University, said Wu Weidong. One night. Just one night. Li Yunlong didn't quite understand what this meant by being out of school. The meaning of dropping out is that you can't go to school halfway, explained Wu Weidong. Hey, when I say you intellectuals, you just love to mess around with these twists and turns. Just tell me, if you don't get on halfway, it's over. Li Yunlong didn't care about losing face, and even those with thin skin couldn't be team leaders. However, why not attend this good university, said Li Yunlong again. Everyone came to fight against the Japanese and even went to a damn university, sir. I agreed to go to the front line to fight against the Japanese. If you don't want me to join the army, I will go to another unit. Anyway, I am determined to join this army, Wu Weidong said firmly. Hey, why don't you guys get into the oil and salt market? You college students are the treasures of our 8th Route Army. You should go to the rear to study, whether it's in the military factory or headquarters staff documents. That's definitely more important than being a big soldier in my new regiment. Li Yunlong said with great care. Big fart, how can I kill the Japanese in the rear? Don't think I don't understand anything. There's no chance to kill the Japanese myself in the rear, you still want to deceive me. Wu Weidong pouted. Are you sincere enough to argue with me? Believe it or not, I'll kill you now. Li Yunlong became furious. Of course, this is not that he really got angry, but to scare Wu Weidong. He really doesn't want this white-faced scholar. Of course, Wu Weidong also guessed Li Yunlong's thoughts. After all, not to mention shooting at a scholar, even ordinary people cannot shoot. I had already inquired before coming, this is the territory of a new group of Li Yunlong. Otherwise, how could Wu Weidong dare to do this? So, Wu Weidong didn't say a word and directly untied the hem of his long shirt, then untied the lining inside. Then he took out a pistol from his back, opened the safety and loaded it, and stuffed it into Li Yunlong's hand. The M1911 pistol has a capacity of 7 rounds. Shoot here, come on, no one dares, who is the grandson? Wu Weidong pointed to his heart and said. You kid turned against you. Li Yunlong was furious with Wu Weidong, but he didn't dare to actually shoot. Li Yunlong, you're so damn rebellious. At this moment, a voice full of vitality came over. I saw a military officer who was not very tall but exceptionally powerful running towards me. Guns are used to deal with enemies, not to target one's own people. This person snatched the gun from Li Yunlong's hand. Captain, you have arrived. Please advise him as soon as possible. He insists on joining the army. Li Yunlong looked at the captain and was startled, quickly pointing to Wu Weidong and saying, "Why can they fight the Japanese, but I can't?" Wu Weidong pointed to the soldier standing guard and said, "This is different. They are all mud-legged people who don't recognize a single character. You are a college student or an intellectual, so don't hang out with us, okay?" Li Yunlong glanced at the soldier and said to Zhou WeidongLi, "What's different is that they all have one shoulder and one head, both born to their parents." "I can do whatever they want," Zhou WeidongLi said firmly. "What's going on?" The brigade commander glanced at Wu Weidong before saying to Li Yunlong. From this action of Xiao Xiao, it can be seen that the brigade commander still believes in Li Yunlong. "Brigadier General, this kid is a college student or a student of Liangjian University. I was thinking about sending him to the brigade, but as a result, this kid insisted on staying in the new regiment and even made me kill him. That gun was given to me by him, such as the one from ante-1911. How could we have such a good gun?" Li Yunlong complained to the brigade commander like a bullied daughter. In law. After listening to Li Yunlong's words, the brigade commander held the gun in his hand and looked at it. It was indeed a good gun, not like what Li Yunlong could have. "That's M1911, come back and strengthen your learning," the brigade commander glared at Li Yunlong and said. "I'll deal with you later," the brigade commander glared at Li Yunlong and said. With just Li Yunlong's careful thinking, how could he possibly deceive the brigade commander? "Classmate, I already know about this matter. Can you tell me your thoughts?" said the brigade commander with a smile as he looked at Wu Weidong. "Brigadier, the situation is like this. I originally wanted to learn culture well and serve the country, but who knew that after only a year of college, the little devils wiped out my entire family, 30.7 of them. I didn't even let go of my mother's chicken. Can I spare these little devils?" Wu Weidong gritted his teeth and said. Faced with Li Yunlong, Wu Weidong can still play tricks, but when facing this general, he can only speak the truth. 37 people. The Wu family in Hebei. "Who are you from the Wu family?" The brigade commander frowned in an instant. "Wu Yud is my father, dear," said Wu Weidong. "We already know about the Wu family's situation. The Wu family has secretly supported us on the 8th route several times, and we remember this kindness. Since you are Mr. Wu's descendant, you must not be in danger. Come with me and take you to the rear." The brigade commander looked at Wu Weidong and said. "No, I'm going to kill the little devil with my own hands. He killed me 30.7 times, and I'll kill his 30.7 thousand beast, so that the little devil can pay him 100 times. Wu Weidong shook his head and said. Of course, Wu Weidong knew about the Wu family's aid to the 8th route, and it was all arranged by him. Although it was done very discreetly, Wu let traders and servants report to the family, which led to the destruction of the little devils. "If you don't let me join the army, then I'll join the Central Army. With my money, buying a platoon leader is definitely not a problem," Wu Weidong gritted his teeth and said. "Haha. Good kid, you have determination. If I disagree, it's a bit hard to justify." "Alright, I agree. You can stay in the new regiment from now on," the brigade commander laughed. The brigade commander is not worried that Wu Weidong will really buy a platoon leader, but because the Wu family was also killed by the Little Devils due to the anti-Japanese war. As descendants of the Wu family, we must treat them kindly. Chapter 2. Formal Enlistment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Thank you, Brigadier. You are such a good person, Brigadier. Wu Weidong quickly thanked him. Li Yunlong, I'll leave the person to you. Make sure to ensure his safety. If there's a problem, I'll ask you a question, the brigade commander said to Li Yunlong. Yes, I promise to complete the task. Li Yunlong couldn't argue when he saw the brigade commander saying so. This gun, I'll give it back to you. I hope you can use it to fight the Japanese well, said the brigade commander, returning the pistol to Wu Weidong. No need, this gun will be given as a gift to the brigade commander. Wu Weidong refused the pistol returned by the brigade commander. What is this for? Bribing me as soon as I arrived. The brigade commander glared at Wu Weidong and said. I haven't officially naturalized yet, so it's not considered bribery, it can only be considered as patriotic people donating anti-Japanese items to their respected anti-Japanese generals. Isn't this a violation of discipline? Wu Weidong smiled and said. Huh, it's interesting, it's so interesting. Then I'll take it and turn around. I'll use this gun to kill 2 more little devils, the brigade commander laughed and said. Alright, you go register first and get your military uniform later. I have something to do with your regimental commander, the brigade commander patted Wu Weidong on the shoulder and said. Yes, then I'll go first. Wu Weidong happily returned to the conscription office. The brigade commander took Li Yunlong to his regiment headquarters. Captain, why don't you take it to the brigade headquarters? This kid is both an intellectual and a landlord and a wealthy man. I'm afraid he might be shot by someone else, Li Yunlong said with a bitter face. Li Yunlong, do you still have organizational discipline? Do you know how much the Wu family has donated to our 8th route in the past 2 years? We have donated tens of thousands of kilograms of grain alone, and tens of thousands of dollars in the ocean. The patriotic merchants we raise are the objects we strive for and we need to protect them well. If I leave them in your regiment, you should protect them well. If there is any mistake, I will ask you. The brigade commander's whip fiercely whipped on the table and said. Li Yunlong was startled by the sudden action of the brigade commander and instantly wilted. Although Li Yunlong has always been the leader and the second in command, the brigade commander can dominate him 3 streets. Yes, Captain. Li Yunlong quickly saluted and said. However, this kid has indeed posed a challenge for me, said Brigadier Wu Weidong, placing the handgun on the table. Captain. Li Yunlong looked at the captain in confusion, how could it become a difficult problem again? Don't worry about this, let's talk about the conscription situation on your side, the brigade commander waved his hand and said. Brigadier, our new regiment now has a total of 567 people. In just 1 month, we have only recruited over 100 people. The recognition of us by the people here is still not enough. I think we need to fight another battle, said Li Yunlong. Li Yunlong, don't talk nonsense to me. If I want someone, and a gun, what do you need to do? Since you can become a regimental leader, you can build a team. I don't care about anything else. Within 3 months, you must form combat effectiveness, otherwise you will only be assigned to the brigade to feed horses. The brigade commander felt that he still needed to give Li Yunlong some pressure. Yes, we guarantee to complete the task and form combat effectiveness within 3 months. However, Brigadier General, is it allowed for us to do some side jobs ourselves? Otherwise, your Brigadier General will have to equip us with this gun. Li Yunlong stood up straight and then rubbed his hands and said to the Brigadier General. You young man, Xiao Tinyang, negotiate terms with me. I only have one option. Within 3 months, the new regiment must form combat effectiveness, the brigade commander pointed at Li Yunlong and said. The brigade commander said this, and Li Yunlong immediately knew what it meant. This is a disguised way of delegating power to himself. Hey, thank you Brigadier General, said Li Yunlong with a dog-like expression. Alright, I came over today to see how your regiment is developing. It seems that we still need to work harder. I have something else to do, let's go first, said the brigade commander as he walked out. Captain, take your time, Captain, Li Yunlong said with a shy face. What are you doing, kid? Sneaking around. Li Yunlong said to the guard Huzi, who was hiding in the dark. Hee, Captain, we're getting rich, Huzi said. What makes you rich? Li Yunlong looked up and down at Huzi and said. Captain, just the new recruit today brought us 10 rifles and 2,000 bullets. Do you think we've made a fortune? Tiger said. You're not joking, kid. Li Yunlong looked at Huzi and said. How dare I joke with you? Just go and take a look and you'll know. It was pulled by a donkey cart, said Tiger. Take me over and take a look, Li Yunlong nodded and said. In fact, these guns were prepared by Wu Weidong when he decided to flee to the 8th route after the Wu family had an accident. Due to the rush of time, there were not many things prepared, and it was not easy to deliver them. Although the door was completely destroyed, the cabinet only took away some money, and also occupied his place. However, that is just a county town, and the buying and selling outside is not something that a servant can understand, so the impact is not very significant. Captain. Wu Weidong quickly paid a non-standard military salute when he saw Li Yunlong coming over. Are these all brought by you? Li Yunlong said, pointing to the things on the donkey cart after returning his salute. Time is running out, so we can only prepare so much. It can be considered as the anti-Japanese war supplies donated by my Wu family, Wu Weidong nodded and said. You've given me a difficult problem, kid, Li Yunlong said as he looked around Wu Weidong with his hands behind his back. At that moment, he finally understood the captain's feelings. I'll keep the things, but they can be considered as loans from my new group. When our new group becomes capable, I'll return them to you. Later, I'll have the document write an IOU for you, along with your donkey cart and lend it to the new group. Li Yunlong pondered for a long time before saying. No need, Captain. This is donated by my Wu family to the anti-Japanese armed forces. As long as we can kill more devils, it's better than anything, Wu Weidong waved his hand and said. Our 8th Route Army has discipline, so we naturally have to follow the rules. This matter is settled, Li Yunlong waved his hand and said. Okay, then let's listen to the captain. Wu Weidong also reluctantly agreed, as long as these things can defeat the Japanese. Because of Wu Weidong's equipment, Li Yunlong personally sent him to the 2nd Battalion and 5th Company, and from then on he became an 8th Route warrior. It's not that Li Yunlong doesn't want to bring Wu Weidong with him and do some paperwork or other work in the regimental headquarters, but because Wu Weidong is even unwilling to work in the regimental headquarters and insists on going to the frontline troops. Chapter 3. First Battlefield. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 4. Li Yunlong. You're really a genius, kid. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 5. Rewards. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 6. After the First World War. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Bullets, no problem. Your marksmanship is good. We still have 20 official bullets in our class, all of which have been given to you. Everyone else will be dressed as little devils, said Lao Su. Wu Weidong happily collected the bullets and then took a seized canned beef. Class monitor, when we have dinner tonight, please open this one for me first, and then everyone can share it, Wu Weidong said, shaking the can in his hand. No need, isn't it that the leader rewarded one of us in our class? Let's just eat that one, keep that one, and it's what the leader rewarded you with. If you're hungry in the next war, you can eat it yourself, Old Su shook his head and said. It's okay, I used to eat this thing a lot, it's not something new. Tonight, we'll split up. The one in the squad leader's hand, we'll eat it again next time we go to war. Wu Weidong shook his head and said. What do you think? Old Su looked at veteran Gu Jin and new recruit Dan. Class monitor, since it's Wu Weidong's kindness, let's keep it and help him grab more bullets next time, Gu Jin said. I have no objection, Dan shook his head and said. Okay, today we'll be exposed to Wu Weidong's glory, but we can't eat for free. Next time we go to war, please help Wu Weidong pay attention to the bullets. Lao Su nodded and said. The discipline of the 8th route requires all seizures to be returned to the public, but the principle of distribution is to prioritize supplementing one's own losses. For example, if the battle of the 5th Company consumed 800 bullets, then at the end of the battle, priority will be given to replenishing some to ensure combat effectiveness for the next period of time. Of course, the real boss must be handed over, and in the next major battle, the regimental headquarters will send him to the battlefield to ensure combat effectiveness. After a small battle, the new regiment continued to recruit soldiers, and the days tended to calm down. However, Wu Weidong knew that with Li Yunlong's temperament, it was impossible to remain calm like this, and the battle would definitely continue. Tonight is a big meal. The group cooks used the pot-stewed canned beef with potatoes and cabbage, steamed white flour and corn flour to mix the double-face mantou. After winning the battle, the team will reward the soldiers well. After all, they have risked their lives to fight against the Japanese. It's hard not to reward them again. This old Wang really has 2 tricks, he can actually get cured meat, old Su muttered while eating. Class monitor, where is there meat here? Wu Weidong flipped through the dishes in the bowl and said. You can't tell from that. Old Wang must have been chopped to pieces, otherwise, how could we divide so many people in our group? Old Su shook his head and said. Hey, don't say it, there's really meat foam, Wu Weidong said with a smile, picking up a handful of meat foam with his chopsticks. Hurry up and have a meal, then go back and rest well at night, Old Su said. Wu Weidong stopped talking and started researching cheats while eating. A simple interface, there is nothing to study, mainly to actively pick up this function. Wu Weidong did not find anything. However, being careful, he still found an expansion button in the corner of the panel, and then consciously operated it again by clicking the button. The options displayed on this panel only have 2 options. Points and redemption. The points rule is also very simple. Killing an ordinary soldier can earn 1 point. The team leader has 5 points, while the team leader has 10 points. The department head has 15 points, and the team leader has 20 points. The higher the level, the more points will be given. The ordinary soldiers of the puppet army don't have as many points. Ordinary soldiers only have 0.1 points, squad leaders have 0.5 points, platoon leaders have 1 point, and company leaders have 2 points. The higher the level, the more points they have. And there are many things that can be exchanged, such as firearms and ammunition, food supplies, and so on. However, when Wu Weidong saw the exchange price, he almost cursed. A 38 big lid actually costs 200 points, a bullet costs 1 point, not to mention hand grenades, planes, tanks, and so on, it's just astronomical numbers. However, food is much cheaper, and 1 point can be exchanged for 10 pounds of white noodles, which is much more cost-effective than exchanging weapons and equipment. Wu Weidong glanced at the harvest of the transportation team that fought against the Little Devils today, with a total of only 66 points, which is not much. This is not as good as cheating, it's a bit too junk, Wu Weidong muttered to himself. However, on second thought, although there is a lack of weapons and ammunition on the 8th route, there is also a shortage of food. It is also good to exchange points for food. However, the trouble is, I am also a member of the military now, and it will be a bit inconvenient for me to donate supplies in the future. I will go back and ask the team leader to see if there is any impact, Wu Weidong thought, touching his chin. Wu Weidong, what are you talking about there, kid? The class monitor said to Wu Weidong, who was still in a daze. Here we go. Quickly finish the meal and follow the class monitor to wash the dishes. In the evening, class monitor Lao Su and veteran Gu Jin brought foot wash to Wu Weidong and Dan, which is also an old tradition. After the war, the veteran took care of the new recruits. Class monitor, we can come by ourselves, Wu Weidong quickly said. Don't move, this is an old tradition of our 8th route. When we have new recruits in our class next time, it will be your turn, the 2 of you, Old Su said to Wu Weidong. That's right, it's all like this. Hurry up and wash your feet before going to bed. You don't need to train tomorrow, but you still need to continue learning, said Gujin. It's impossible to say you're not touched, after all, besides your parents, who has taken care of you like this. After helping 2 people wash their feet, Lao He and the other 2 would wash their feet themselves and then go to bed. That night, Wu Weidong slept particularly soundly because he was really exhausted from the battle. It was strange that he didn't sleep soundly. Of course, as a new recruit, it is also possible that he fell asleep and had nightmares, such as the second egg next to him waking up from a nightmare. A few days later, the battalion commander left the base with the 2nd Battalion and went to ambush on one side of a mountain road. Class monitor, are we going to ambush again this time? Air Dan whispered on the ground. That's right, taking advantage of the night's ambush, maybe our camp can make a fortune today, said Old Su. Class monitor, are we going to ambush the 2nd Battalion tonight? Asked the new recruit Jin Ling. Yes, today's ambush mission is for the 2nd Battalion. There are quite a few new recruits in our 6th class. If we start fighting later, you new recruits should pay attention, said Old Su. Don't worry, squad leader. I'm already a veteran who participated in a battle, said Erden. You're a damn veteran, just stay honest and see how Wu Weidong shoots. Old Su patted Erden's head and said. Oh, Dan reluctantly replied. Chapter 7. Needs to be clarified with the team leader. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Class monitor, don't learn from me. My marksmanship relies entirely on luck, Wu Weidong quickly said. His marksmanship, there's no such thing as a marksmanship. It all depends on his ability to open and hang, okay. How do others learn this? You don't have any cheats after learning it. Hey, kid, stop pretending. Your marksmanship is obvious to all of us. In the last battle, you alone killed all the officers of the Little Devils. Now the whole team knows about it, Old Su said with a smile. Class monitor, don't lift me up. I'm just a new recruit, I don't have such great abilities. Last time was purely lucky, said Wu Weidong. Just as a few people were chatting quietly, the soldier in charge of reconnaissance hurriedly ran back. Captain, Chao Matsi is only 5 miles away, said the reconnaissance soldier lying beside Wang Dechuan. Everyone, be prepared for battle. Without my command, no one can move around, even if you poop, you can pull your pants for me, Wang Dechuan said to the correspondent. The correspondent immediately conveyed Wang Dechuan's order to each company, and everyone stopped talking. They just watched the mountain road quietly, waiting for Chao Matsi's arrival. Chao Matsi and Wu Weidong are also aware of this. This guy was originally a mountain bandit in this area, with dozens of people under his command, looting and robbing homes everywhere. It can be said that he committed all kinds of evil, and the local security team had no way to take him. However, after the Little Devils arrived, this guy directly defected to them and became a battalion commander. As for his style, it became even more arrogant and he didn't even engage in human affairs. The distance of 5 miles is not far, even if it's a leisurely journey, half an hour is enough, so without much effort, Wu Weidong and his team saw Chao Matsi's team. Pop! Captain Wang Dechuan fired his first shot. This shot is not to kill the enemy, but to release the firing signal. With the sound of Wang Dechuan's gunfire, Wu Weidong pulled the bolt and decisively prepared to shoot. Puff! Chao Matsi fell in response. You need to be more careful when fighting against the Little Devils, after all, their strength is displayed there. But when it comes to fighting against the puppet army, it's not a unit of the same level at all. The 2nd Battalion didn't even throw grenades, they used rifles to shoot directly, and then launched a charge, ending the battle in less than half an hour. Squad leader, this battle was really boring. We haven't fired a few shots yet, and the other side surrendered, Wu Weidong said in silence. These guys, except for the bandits at the beginning, are all ordinary people. The teams that were forcibly pulled in are not strong in combat effectiveness. As soon as they encounter headwinds on the battlefield, they will surrender immediately. However, go back and discern, maybe some people can absorb them, old Su said with a smile. This kind of battle is relatively easy, there won't be too many casualties, but the capture won't be too bad. After all, the weapons of the puppet army are also equipment, isn't it? What's wrong? Erden is injured. Wu Weidong looked at Erden, who was holding his arm. It's not a big problem, just scrape some skin, go back and apply some medicine, rest for a while, veteran Gujin said. That's good. When we go to war again, we'll have a long memory, Lao Su nodded and said. For the 2nd Battalion, today's battle was meant to show the blood to the new recruits. Such combat training is better than sacrificing oneself in battle with the little devils. At this time, less than a year after the outbreak of the full-scale resistance war, all the troops in the country were fighting to resist the Japanese invaders. And during this period, the little devils did not even consider the domestic troops as opponents, and they were extremely arrogant one by one. Early the next morning when he returned to his station, Wu Weidong had just woken up when he heard a loud voice outside. 2nd Battalion Commander, 2nd Battalion Commander. This loud voice sounded like Li Yunlong. Class Monitor, why is the leader here? Wu Weidong asked old Su in a low voice. Hey, we won the battle last night. The regimental leader must have come to capture it, and of course, we'll also take a look at the casualties of the troops, said Lao Su. Oh, that's right, Wu Weidong nodded and said. Don't worry so much, we've been fighting lately. Take the time to rest and recover. It's uncertain when the next battle will start, said Lao Su. No, I need to report something to the team leader and rest when I come back, Wu Weidong said as he stood up to tidy up. Don't act recklessly, kid, be careful if the captain hits you. Old Su quickly got up and grabbed Wu Weidong. I really have something to do. If I don't ask the team leader clearly, I'm not at ease, Wu Weidong said with a bitter face. What can you do, kid? Old Su looked at Wu Weidong with some disbelief and said. There's really something going on. After finally seeing the leader, I need to clarify the matter, otherwise I'm afraid we'll have trouble in the future, Wu Weidong said. You guys rest first, I'll follow the scholar on a trip, Lao Su said with a glance at the few people lying on the con. Shiotsai was a nickname given to Wu Weidong by a few members of the class, because one day the platoon leader joked that if this guy were to go in the past, he would at least be a scholar, and maybe even the top scholar. Therefore, the title of scholar became Wu Weidong's nickname. Class Monitor, no need, I can go by myself, Wu Weidong shook his head repeatedly and said. Let's go, when the leader beats someone, I can resist a few more times, Lao Su patted Wu Weidong's shoulder and said. Wu Weidong sighed and didn't say anything more, just keeping the class monitor's kindness in mind. You, the 2nd Battalion Commander, are still sensible. Recently, I have been preparing to build the 3rd Battalion, and there is a huge shortage of equipment. I'm worried, my brain is almost coming out. When Wu Weidong and Lao Su arrived, Li Yunlong was patting Wang Dachuan's shoulder to complain. We're going over now. Wu Weidong glanced at Lao Su and said. Let's go, I reckon the team leader is probably waiting for the steps at this moment, Lao Su sighed and said. Wu Weidong discovered that this old Su seemed to be not an ordinary person, surprisingly so familiar with Li Yunlong. Captain, Captain, Lao Su shouted. Hey, isn't this Lao Su? Why are you here, kid? Li Yunlong laughed when he saw Lao Su. Captain, it's not me, it's our class's scholar who came to you and said there's something important to tell you, Lao Su pointed to Wu Weidong and said. Shiotsai. Hey, not to mention it, this kid deserves this title. Li Yunlong was taken aback for a moment before laughing. Tell me, what's up with you, kid? Li Yunlong looked at Wu Weidong and said. Captain, it's this matter. My family's situation was explained clearly before, but I was thinking about it. After a few months, our business will recover, and we will definitely have to donate to the army in the future. However, I am currently in the army, isn't this a bit bad? Wu Weidong said. Chapter 8. Unexpected Enemy Arrival. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This matter is indeed a bit troublesome, but there is no way out. Wait, when I see the brigade commander later, I will ask him. Li Yunlong was also a bit embarrassed, as he had never encountered such a situation since the Japanese invasion. Yes, Captain. You are now a celebrity in our regiment. Ah, you have only been in the army for a few days. You have participated in 2 battles and killed the enemy commander. You are also a talented person. I will give you a commendation later. If it weren't for your short enlistment time, I would have wanted you to lead a team. Li Yunlong patted Wu Weidong's shoulder and said. No, it's better not to. I'll go ahead and fight against the devils myself. Kill a little devil, and the pressure will be less. I don't know when I'll kill enough to kill 3007. Wu Weidong shook his head repeatedly and said. Are you really going to make the little devil pay back 100 times? Li Yunlong widened his eyes and said. Of course, a man is a man of his own, always speaking his mind and never offering discounts, Wu Weidong said seriously. Good kid, you have backbone. Li Yunlong patted Wu Weidong's shoulder. Alright, your 2nd battalion should rest as soon as possible and start at night, Li Yunlong waved his hand and said. After resting for 100 days, towards evening, a new group gathered and approached the designated location. Damn it, even if we defeat a battle, we can't trust me to become a reserve team. Although the new regiment has just been formed, its combat effectiveness is not bad. Li Yunlong cursed at the temporary command post, and his voice could be heard throughout the entire station. Class monitor, our group leader is cursing again, Wu Weidong whispered to old Su. Listen, while it's okay at this moment, I'll take a pack of cigarettes, Lao Su said, glancing at the direction of the command center. Class monitor, we'll be smoking later. Look over there, is there any light? Wu Weidong pulled at old Su and said. Where? Old Su became energetic in a moment. It's right in front of our position on the left. It looks like there's a light, isn't it a little devil? Wu Weidong looked through the magnifying glass on his gun and said. Let me take a look. Old Su reached out and took Wu Weidong's gun over, then observed in the direction pointed by Wu Weidong. There is indeed a bright light, and it seems to be still moving. It's likely a little devil. Our people dare not shine so openly. I'll go find the squad leader. Old Su returned the gun to Wu Weidong and said. Lao Su quickly approached Li Yunlong's command post. Captain, we seem to have discovered the little devils, said old Su. What? Where are the little devils? Li Yunlong said with a skeptical expression. Just in front of our position, we saw a bright light, said Lao Su. Take me to take a look. Li Yunlong didn't even bother cursing at the moment. Seeing the little devil, it meant there was a war going on. Li Yunlong arrived at the position, then held a telescope and looked again and again. Sure enough, he found a bright light, fluctuating high and low, clearly marching. Hey, you're really little devils. How did you discover it? Li Yunlong put away his telescope and said. It was discovered by a scholar. Originally, I wanted to take advantage of my free time to smoke a bag of cigarettes, but as a result, the scholar discovered the little devil, which caused me to not be able to smoke, said old Su. This kid is really a lucky general. He can even detect such a faint light, which is quite cautious, Li Yunlong nodded and said. Send my command, everyone prepare for battle, wait for my command before firing, Li Yunlong ordered. Quickly, Li Yunlong's command was conveyed to each platoon, and everyone was ready for battle. However, the battle on the brigade commander's side has not yet begun. Where did this little devil come from? Li Yunlong couldn't figure out what these little devils were planning to do. No, we have discovered the enemy situation here and need to report it to the brigade commander. Otherwise, in case of an accident, the battle on the brigade commander's side will be difficult to fight. Thinking of this, Li Yunlong immediately called the correspondent over and asked him to run to the brigade command post to inform the brigade commander of the findings on this side. Hey, let me just say it. Our brigade commander is still looking towards our old Li. No one is better off than our new regiment position. Li Yunlong chuckled proudly. However, he completely forgot who was cursing his mother just now. At this moment, Zhang Dabiao and Wang Dechuan, who had heard the news, also used Li Yunlong's telescope to observe the enemy's movements. Captain, we don't know the number of enemies yet. If there are too many enemies, our new regiment may not be easy to fight against, said Zhang Dabiao. Yes, Captain. I think it's better to first understand the enemy's situation. Otherwise, if this battle starts, it may be easy to get confused. If something goes wrong, it will be troublesome, Wang Dechuan followed. Hey, you two have started preaching to me too. Li Yunlong tilted his head and looked at the two of them. No, Captain. Our new team has finally accumulated some wealth, but we can't all lose it, said Zhang Dabiao. Yes, Captain, it's not easy for us to accumulate this wealth, Wang Dechuan followed suit. Look at your achievements. As long as we win the battle, we still care about our family background. Li Yunlong looked at the two of them and said. Hey, I've already sent someone to notify the brigade commander. Do you really think I'm foolish? Li Yunlong smiled and said. Our new regiment has a weak foundation, and we definitely cannot confront the enemy head-on when the enemy situation is unknown. We just don't know if the brigade commander has any intelligence, Li Yunlong sighed and said. Li Yunlong also feels regretful. There are few people in his hands, and there are few things to do. It is impossible to confront the enemy head-on. If there are more than 1,000 people and the guy in his hands is tough enough, would you still notify the brigade commander? Eating alone is the best way to get rich. When the meat is in your mouth, eat it first. As for the remaining soup, leave it to your brother's army. But now, there's nothing we can do. With fewer people and poor equipment, we dare not force ourselves. Captain, the direction over there should be the Sun family's stronghold, right? Zhang Dabiao pointed in one direction and said. That's right, according to the intelligence, that should be the direction of the Sun family's stronghold, Li Yunlong said after taking a look. You said, did these little devils go to the Sun family to gather? Zhang Dabiao tilted his head and said. It's really possible. I heard that the 772nd Regiment fought there last time, and maybe these little devils went to strengthen their defense, Lin Yunlong pondered for a moment and said. If it is really to strengthen the defense of the stronghold, then the number of people will definitely not be too many. At best, a squadron can still be fought with the guys in our hands. Zhang Dabiao licked his lips and said. Chapter 9. One shot, one little devil. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 10. Focusing on Mortars. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Captain, maybe it will be captured this time, but I'm afraid the brigade commander will have to come and ask for your cannon, said the guard. Damn it, I knew I wouldn't have told the brigade commander. Now that Qing Blind's army is on the way, it's probably coming soon, Li Yunlong cursed. However, Li Yunlong also knew that this battle was not easy to fight. Although the mortars and machine gunners had been defeated now, the losses of the little devils were not significant. After a wave of charging, although the position was not lost, it also brought considerable losses. How have the casualties been in the front? Li Yunlong asked. In just half an hour, there were over 50 casualties in the 1st Battalion, and the same was true in the 2nd Battalion. This is still the reason why the mortar was fired off. Otherwise, the casualties would probably be even greater, said the guard. Got it, Li Yunlong frowned and said. The level of the little devils is indeed very high, even if the officers were eliminated at the first time. After a short period of organization, they quickly gained resistance again. Class monitor, how are you? Wu Weidong leaned back to Lao Su's side. It's okay, there were no casualties in our class, but there were casualties in Class 5. When it comes to war, there are no undead people, Lao Su nodded and said. Well, just now I shot down the officer and machine gun or mortar of the little devils, and by this time, the little devils had already withdrawn from range, making it difficult to shoot, Wu Weidong said. The little devil is not foolish. He seems to be unable to charge forward, so he can still be a live target for you. Old Su smiled and said. However, the little devils will definitely organize a charge later, so be careful, said Lao Su. Understood, Wu Weidong nodded and said. The new regiment saw the enemy retreat and immediately took a rest to prepare for the next battle. On the other hand, the little devils sent out communication soldiers to return to the county town for help, as they were not too far away from the county town. This little devil is not foolish. When he knows the pressure is quite high, he will definitely not shoulder it. When it is time to call for support, he naturally needs to call for support. Unfortunately, during this period, the little devils did not have their radio stations configured at the squadron level. Of course, even if they were configured in the future, it would not be possible for any unit to have them. So, as a messenger, the best choice is to ride back and call for support. The little devils are indeed wealthy, but it also depends on who they compare to. Compared to the domestic market, they are extremely wealthy. However, if compared to the United States and the Soviet Union, it is too far behind. Class monitor, isn't this little devil not attacking anymore? Wu Weidong looked at old Su and asked. No, the little devil is definitely waiting for orders from his superiors and also waiting for their support, said Lao Su. Hey, these little devils are not stupid. They still know how to wait for support, Wu Weidong smiled and said. Nonsense, although the little devil is a bit arrogant, he's not foolish either. If you take down his command system, what will he attack with? Old Su chuckled and said. I think the little devils will definitely organize an attack. The just wave of exploratory attacks, although they caused considerable losses to the little devils, did not cause any physical or mental harm, Wu Weidong shook his head and said. Everyone knows about their own affairs, and Wu Weidong only fired a total of 20 shots. The officer must not have finished shooting, and there is a high possibility that someone like Chao Chang is still alive. Perhaps there are still auxiliary gunners alive. In this case, after resting, the little devils can definitely organize the next attack. In just half an hour of battle, the entire new regiment only killed and injured at most 110 little devils, of which only a few dozen had lost their combat effectiveness. This was not a big deal for a small devil in a squadron. Well, after all, you're a scholar. You're right about that. The little devil didn't really hurt his muscles or bones, so maybe he could actually launch an attack. Old Su thought for a moment, and it was really possible. Bang! The little devil's mortar rang out again. Ah, the little devil's mortar is firing again, a soldier shouted. Damn little devil! Bomb! The shell exploded on the position. Due to the darkness, the little devils couldn't see the situation of the position clearly, so they could only have a rough range and then carry out shelling. After 2 rounds of shelling, the little devils launched another charge. Da-da-da. The heavy machine gun rang out, and the little devils roared forward. On the other hand, the support of the 772nd Regiment has finally arrived. Captain Li, we didn't come late, did we? Said the battalion commander as he approached Li Yunlong's command post. It turns out you're here, not bad. You've become a battalion commander now, said Li Yunlong as he looked at the battalion commander. He, Lao Li, quickly arranged the task. The battalion commander grinned and said. In this way, your battalion will form a company and move to the position of the 1st Battalion on the left to assist the 1st Battalion in defending the position. The remaining 2 companies will move to the position of the 2nd Battalion on the right. I estimate that the pressure on the position of the 2nd Battalion will increase later. Li Yunlong pointed to the position in front of him and said. Yes, ensure completion of the task. Machine guns, machine guns. Wang Duchuan shouted. You should know that after the transportation team that fought against the Little Devils last time, their 2nd Battalion was allocated a light machine gun, which was just fine, but now it suddenly went silent. Captain, the machine gun was knocked down by the Little Devils, said a soldier. Are there any machine gunners left? Wang Duchuan shouted. Captain, I'll do it, said the 4th Company commander as he leaned over to the position of the machine gun. Da-da-da. The machine gun rang out again. With the brief suppression of the machine gun, Wu Weidong's movements were restored and he began shooting. One shot at a little devil, there's no negotiation at all. Captain, it's almost done. Zhang Dabiao put down Li Yunlong's telescope and said. If we don't take action, we'll be in trouble if the Little Devil's reinforcements arrive, Zhang Dabiao added. Blow the charge horn, one by one, let me charge you all. Li Yunlong also gave the order. Dudu-dudu. The charge sounded, and the soldiers on the battlefield stabbed their guns one by one, while those without bayonets held large knives. Accompanied by a charge horn, they all rushed out and launched an attack on the enemy's position. Xiuzai, you stay and watch over some mortars and machine guns later. Don't let the Little Devils explode, Lao Su said, pulling Wu Weidong. Understood, Wu Weidong nodded and said. It is obvious that not only Li Yunlong but also the Little Devils will destroy the materials and equipment that cannot be taken away when they know it cannot be taken away. So, the task of Wu Weidong as a sniper is to keep an eye on the Little Devils and prevent them from causing damage. After all, the role of mortars is too great.